This is the Well Body Podcast with your host, Renee, the place where everyday women learn how to stop running on empty, reset their energy, nourish their bodies, and feel strong again. Let's get into it. Today's conversation is a really special one. I'm sitting down with Shannon, a woman in her mid-20s who is navigating her journey with both PCOS and endometriosis and everything that comes with that. But this conversation isn't about diagnosis, it's about what it actually feels like to live in a female body when things aren't working the way you thought they would. It's about pain, confusion, learning, unlearning, and slowly finding your way back to yourself. Shannon has been on a journey of healing, growth, and self-discovery, and what I love about her is how openly she shares that process. She's not pretending to have it all figured out, she's simply showing up, being real, and creating a space online for other women who are navigating their own versions of becoming themselves again. Through body positivity, honesty, and connection, she's reminding women that they're not alone in this. And I think that's something so many of us need. So this is a really beautiful, honest, raw, real conversation around menstruation, hormones, identity, and what it means to be a woman when your body asks you to slow down and listen. Let's get into it. Welcome to the show, Shannon. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you online with me today on the podcast. So I would just love to start with your story and where it feels right for you. Let's talk about you and get to know who you are.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Shannon. I am in my mid-20s, and to be totally honest, I am just trying to figure it out. I feel like I've recently was diagnosed with endometriosis. I had surgery last year to confirm, and I've had PCOS. And I'm really in the stage of life where I just want to figure it out. I want to get to know myself, get to know my body. How do I cope better with it? I think I'm just ready to live with it, not against it. And I'm feeling like I'm in the stage of life where I want to, get to know myself better.
Beautiful. And when you say I remember being 25, I'm 31 now, so not that long ago. But I feel like 25 was such an age where you just go, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know who I am. What is life? I thought I knew what I wanted at 22 and you still have no idea. Do you feel like it's not just about your health, but it's everything?
Oh, completely. It is everything. And I mean, it was so easy when we were younger to be like, by 25, I'm going to be this, this, and this.
Yeah.
None of those things.
Yeah.
And I know I'm better for it, but then you get to that age and I'm like, oh, so what am I doing? What is life going to look like in the next 5 years? What has it looked like for the last 5 years? And I'm definitely in that point where I'm like, okay, we need to rebrand my whole life. But then also I like parts of my life. So it's definitely such a weird space to be in.
It is a weird space, but I feel like a rebrand is part of growth. Do you know what I mean? It's such a positive thing to go through because it's going, right, well, this is where I was at and now this is where I want to be. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to be able to recognize, and rather than kind of suppressing it or, not allowing yourself to change, you're better off just to go through the motions of allowing yourself to rebrand, even if it feels scary or if you get people saying, what are you doing? I miss the real you.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think growth is scary. And if it's not scary, you're not growing in the right direction, or you're
100%.
holding yourself back. And so I think it's important just to listen to your inner voices and live authentically. And I think as we get older, and I know for myself, I found that as I've gotten older through the years, I live more true to myself, and I'm a lot quicker to drop anything that kind of doesn't feel true to myself and true to my values. And I think as we get older, we'd learn ourselves more. And
absolutely.
So that's all part of the fun.
It is. And then you get to 31 and you're still learning who you are and you're going, okay, maybe I want to go this direction with my life now. Maybe I want to do this and do that. And that's so okay. I feel like, it's just ages and stages. And the older you get, the more the less fucks you give, essentially. Yeah. I love that for you. I really want to ask you this question, and it's so fun if you don't know, but do you remember your first ever period?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, tell us. What was it like?
I didn't know. I knew, when you get the little bit of cramping and you're like, oh, my tummy feels weird, or it was just off. And I was like, that's weird. And then later that day, like, you know, I saw blood and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is what we've spoken about in like health class, but like,
Okay.
really, like, I don't know, like, you know, like that. And then telling mum and being like, Mum, I think I've got like my period.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like I feel weird. Like, what, like, it was just such a weird feeling. And I
Mhm.
think they forget to tell us how odd it feels or how weird you'll feel. And like, yeah, a little gross in that moment too.
Yeah. Well, what was it like in your environment? Did your mum ever sit you down and have a conversation with you about menstruation and what to expect? Or was it just kind of like, this is going to happen to you, and then that was it?
We definitely, like, I am lucky I grew up in a girl family, like,
Oh,
poor
cool.
dad, who I've got 2 sisters, I'm in the middle, so we're definitely a woman-dominated family, and so we definitely had open conversations, but it was more like, "Yeah, this will happen to you, and when it happens, come to me and we'll deal with it." Like, it's not a big issue, like, it's not the end of the world, it's just what happens,
Yeah,
and, like, we definitely knew that we could always ask questions,
that's good.
about things. But yeah, sorry if you hear some banging, it's the neighbors. But
So fine.
yeah, it definitely was a more of an open topic than what I found out some of my friends experienced. But
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely was lucky I knew kind of what was coming
Yeah.
and like the
Abs-
conversations and the learning that we had at school as well.
Yeah. And I suppose having a mum and having sisters, you feel a lot more confident and comfortable having your period. What do you think, like, how you mentioned it felt gross? What do you feel like, where did that come from? Was that from what people at school had said? Was that from comments from like boys? You know what it's like being at school. Like, where did that come from?
I 100% think it probably came from a lot of like the schooling education. Like, yeah,
Mm,
they went into it and what to expect or what's happening and why. But I think it was also spoken about like almost like it was a little bit taboo and like
mm-hmm.
it wasn't fully like accepted and open and like how amazing it actually is for the woman body. And so like I think there was that little bit and then 100% it would have been like the little comments from all the boys at school, like, that's so gross and like
Yeah.
ew, and like especially I was an intermediate. So I think I was like 13 and so like no
Mm-hmm.
one was talking about it either. So I kind of felt gross that like I didn't know if other people were getting theirs yet. And so it was like, oh no, like am I the weird one? Like
Yeah.
getting it early because like no one spoke about it. So I didn't know if anyone was going through it at the same time as me or not.
Yeah. And 13 is actually a really healthy age to get your first period. And we're actually seeing kids as young as 8 now getting
Yeah.
their periods, which is crazy. So you actually, if you'd known this back then, you were actually getting your period at the most perfect age to get your period. You know what I mean? Super healthy. You're a teenager now. It makes sense. But crazy that, even, you're only being 25, that it's still, even then, was something that was so taboo
Yeah.
at school. And even what about within your friends? Was that something you all spoke about? Or even then it was just like, oh, you're on your period. Let's not go there.
Yeah, like, we just didn't really talk about it. I mean, we'd have conversations on, like, who has it, who doesn't, and then, like, the conversations kinda stopped there. Like, we
Mm,
didn't talk about how we felt while we had our period, like, if anyone got any cramping or anything, like, it really just stopped at, like, who has it, who doesn't.
yeah,
And I think
totally.
through schooling, that was kind of much the same until,
Yeah.
like, I got older in the teenage years.
Yeah, totally. I think, and I also think a lot of girls were just quick to jump on the pill to suppress the period as well, because it was like, oh, how can I get rid of this thing? I just don't want to have to deal with it. And it was just,
Yeah.
okay, I'll go to family planning and I'll get the pill. In New Zealand, we have family planning. It's as easy as just making an appointment. You don't need a parent and you can go and get contraception, which I think is, we're very lucky in this country to have those kind of things available to us, especially for people that really need it. But also, I think it's so easy and accessible to the point that people would just go and grab these medications to simply suppress having their period and probably not knowing how important and how healthy it actually is to have a regular period.
Yeah, for sure, and, like, I was much the same, although the reasoning for me I hopped on the contraceptive pill, and the reasoning for me was I had painful periods.
Mm,
Like, I was taking 2 days out of school every month because
wow.
my
So you're,
pain so painful, and
wow.
so Yeah, by the time I was entering high school, I was already on the pill.
Wow.
Yeah, my mum took me, and it was just like, how can she cope with it? And the doctor was like, "Well, slap her on the pill, basically," and she just
Yeah.
wanted it. Or like, I would get my period every second month with the sugar pills, and I think there was a year where they were like, "Just stop it altogether." And so I blindly did because you're trusting, like, you don't know. And
Yeah.
especially at that point, like, 10 years ago, we definitely didn't know that was the answer to everything.
No,
And no one really wanted to look into it otherwise. At least that was my experience. And so we were just doing what we thought was right.
totally. So do you think that, you know, so when you had your first period, did you notice it was quite painful from 13, or did that kind of start to progressively happen?
Yeah, straight away, basically. I think by
Wow.
the time, like, I had, like, my 3rd or 4th period, I
Yeah.
was agony. Yeah, so
Wow.
I knew fairly early on that this was gonna be a painful experience for me,
Yeah.
and especially when you're younger and you're in school and, like, you can't be bent over in pain
No.
school, or you've still got, like, PE class and all of that, and, like, you can't. So it took a lot of time out of school.
Yeah, so you're part of that statistic of women who spend a lot of time either out of work or out of school, and that then in turn can also impact your education.
Yeah.
Did
You
you notice, like, feeling like this going through high school up until now? Was it like this only when you got your period, or did you notice other parts of your cycle as well that were really kind of holding you back?
Yeah, I'm part of the lucky group where my pain was really unpredictable in terms
Mm,
of, like, the cramping, and I describe it like a stabbing sensation.
mhm,
Like, I feel like I'm getting a sharp pain in my sides. And so for me, it wasn't just around when I would get my period, or for me when I kind of was taking the sugar pills, like that type. It was constant.
mm,
And I think as I got older, it got more intense and more frequent
mhm.
up until like a few years ago where it was almost daily pain for me.
Daily.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was really quick lesson on how to push through and learn to live with the pain.
Oh my goodness. And so going to the doctor, how many times did you go to the doctor until you got your diagnosis?
Years.
Years.
Years, multiple doctor's visits. A lot of doctors were just like, "You're already on the pill. Like, what can we
Mm,
do for you?" And it would be like, I remember sitting vividly in the office, like, doctors, and just crying and being like, "It shouldn't be this sore." Like, I'm reading all these articles, like, maybe I have PCOS or endo, like, something's
mhm,
going on, like, it's not normal. Like, I don't feel normal, something's not right. And they were just like, "Oh, we could refer you, but, you'll probably get denied. So there's not really any point." And then so I just accepted that as like, okay, that I was defeated at that point and was like, okay, I know something's not right, but like, what am I going to do? Because no one's listening to me.
mm,
Up until I actually relocated down south a little bit further and got a new doctor. And I did like the first like introduction appointment. And I was like, I'm just going to tell her everything that's going
yeah,
on, like, see what and she was like, that's not normal. Like,
yeah,
daily pain is not normal, and that is not okay. And that really started the journey for me to get diagnosed with both PCOS and endometriosis. And,
wow,
like, just having someone that heard me
yeah,
was like, yeah, that's not normal. And, like, you know your own body best.
you
And so
do,
I think it's really just finding people that listened to me
yeah.
and that were like, you're not crazy.
Was it, mostly male doctors that were kind of brushing you off?
I actually had more experience with female doctors doing it.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, there was a couple of male doctors, but predominantly it was female because at that point I was trying to see all the doctors at my practice to get heard,
Yeah,
and majority of them were female, which was really discouraging because I thought, okay, well, they'd know, right? Like, they would know, like, what they're talking about because they too go through it.
you would hope.
Yeah, and that was it. It was like, okay, so maybe, like, I'm just over exaggerating the pain. Like, I can live with it, so it's fine.
And it's interesting. There's a statistic where women are less likely to be offered pain medication or take pain medication for being in severe pain.
Yeah,
Generally, we just get it kind of shoved back in our face that it's all in your head. It's all in your head. So I can imagine there would have been a lot of frustration there.
yeah,
But it's a
yeah,
good example of advocating for yourself and continuing to advocate for yourself until you get the answers you need and until you find the health professional that can help you.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think the lesson that I wish I took on board sooner was when it comes to something like periods, the reproductive system, anything to do with that, the doctor doesn't know best because they don't practice that every day. They're not
No.
experts in that. And so something I've spoken about, like with my mum as well, we just wish we got me in front of a gynecologist sooner, someone
Mhm.
that knows their stuff. This is their bread and butter. This is something that they're really educated in.
Yeah.
And I just wish I did that sooner. And it's one of those things like, if
Yeah.
I could redo it, I would just skip the doctors completely and
Yeah,
go
and go
straight to
straight to a
someone who,
specialist.
is a specialist in it.
Totally. So on your journey, obviously you went to the doctors, but did you seek help from like a nutritionist, and did you see anyone else to help you with everything you're going through? Because obviously we've got like the medication and the medical side of things, but then the massive part of that can help us massively when we learn about it is the nutrition, is the movement side of things. Did you get referred to anyone like that?
Yeah, so a lot of the time when I would get pushback from doctors, it was because they were like, "You are overweight. You carry a
Uh,
lot of weight. You need to lose weight, like, and then you'll be fine." And so
which
I
is
did
not always the answer.
no, and I was like, I was playing hockey 4 to 5 days a week. Like, I was eating really good. Like, I was super active. I just couldn't lose the weight. Like, and I wasn't overly big either. And so it was just
Mhm.
so confusing. But I always got referred to dietitians, nutritionists, and I did take them up. Like, I'm someone who's open to help because I'm
Yeah.
trying to benefit
Yeah.
life. So I definitely learned a lot about nutrition and like having balanced whole foods, keeping things like fats and sugars to like not too much.
Yeah.
Exercise definitely was one that like I learned pretty quickly what worked for me and what didn't, and what made my pain worse and
Yeah.
made me more tired. And so I think learning to keep the cortisol levels, that stress hormone, low
Yeah.
really helped me in terms of like when I was exercising, doing things like HIIT workouts or anything that was too exhausting, too quick, wouldn't actually help me in the long run, and, like, I saw less results. But then when I
Yeah.
things like Pilates or weight training, I saw a lot more results from that.
Absolutely. As you would, right? Like, do you think though you went down the HIT route because the doctor was like, you need to lose weight? This is the weight problem. This is nothing to do with your hormones. Like, did it, kind of pushing you in that direction. So mentally you think, okay, well, what do I got to do? And what does the internet tell us? Oh, let's just train as hard as we can 7 days a week and do HIT training and train yourself to absolute exhaustion every time.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, and, like, you viewed it as, like, I was unfit because I was big, so I was unfit, and so how do you get fit is you do cardio and, like, you do all of those extreme things, and, like, 100% that was all we were seeing online, like, that's how you
Mm.
got fit. And so
Hmm.
I was confusing, like, fitness and better health a lot, and so it was just trying to get fitter, which was
Absolutely.
all of those HIIT workouts, yeah.
It's and that's definitely a route a lot of young women go down when they first start their fitness journeys. They think it needs to be intense, hardcore, 7 days a week, all or nothing. And if there's one thing that I always say as a health professional myself and always kind of preach on the podcast as well is that exercise is a tool for health and longevity. It's not something that we should be doing every day to try and lose weight. And that then creates a really negative relationship with exercise. And we're only doing it to try and break a sweat and burn some calories. But when we start lifting weights to build muscle, to build strength, to build power, to build resilience, and we change our mindset from it being something about a weight loss goal to I'm doing this for my overall health, we show up more, we exercise more because we're doing it for better reasons and we love it. And actually, less is more when it comes to training.
Yeah.
So, having gone from HIT to now finding a new way that worked for you, what does your exercise routine look like for someone who has endo and PCOS?
It's definitely understanding what days I can tolerate more and what days I need to take it easy but still move my body.
Mhm.
I definitely go through phases where I'm like on top of my shit and I'm like Pilates, walking. I do a lot of walking and a lot of at home Pilates workouts. Even if I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything, I'm sore, I do a stretching
Yep.
class. But it's definitely listening to my body and seeing what I can tolerate. I fatigue
Beautiful.
quite easy. So it's definitely my routine involves a lot of low impact movement.
Yeah.
And if I'm just moving my body, it's a big win.
It is. Absolutely. You're showing up for yourself, and that's beautiful.
Mm.
Now, having dealt with the fatigue, and I feel like I'm getting my nutritionist hat on now, what is your nutrition structure around training and trying to cope with that fatigue?
It's quite poor, to be honest. I've got a lot of room for improvement, and I hope in the next 6 months is going to that was my next focus for my life. But nutrition, I try and support myself with lots of protein and like fiber.
Good. Love hearing that.
Yeah. I mean, that was the one thing that like through all of my like research online, like that's what everyone says. So I was like, okay, those are attainable like goals to set. Because I'm someone that like I think about so many things when it comes to my health and wellness that I get overwhelmed and then I just do nothing at all, which is like never good. So I'm like, if I just have small little targets like my protein and my fiber targets, I can easily get those with like
Absolutely.
So I mainly focus on protein and fiber.
Beautiful. Love that. And then also for hormones, good fats. We need our good fats, like our avocado, our olive oil, our nuts, our seeds, our walnuts, things like that as well are so important for hormones. But it sounds like you're trying your best to navigate this journey. And since having like changed your exercise up a little bit, do you feel like the pain has become a little bit more manageable since you've gone a little bit low impact versus the high impact stuff you were doing?
Oh, 100%. 100%. When I look back at like when I would push my body to its absolute max, I was the most tired, the most sore I've ever been, and not just like in a physical sense, just like mentally as well. And I think the fatigue is real with someone who struggles with PCOS, especially. And it's not just the body fatigue, it's the mind fatigue. And when I was exercising so hard or pushing myself to my body to its absolute max, I was noticing that everything else was crumbling along with it. So it was like almost not worth it. And now that I've made that switch and I'm listening to myself, listening to my body, I'm working with it, not against it anymore.
Yeah.
And so that's just made all the difference of how I feel after I exercise. Before I exercise, it's like you said, finding the enjoyment in it. I enjoy doing Pilates. I enjoy stretching and weight training. Like, it's not just like, oh, I have to go do this.
Totally. Absolutely. And I think that's so cool that you've found a structure that works for you and it's something that you're able to commit to and show up to, because ultimately the best exercise plan is the one that doesn't burn us out and the one that we can commit to and stick to for the long haul. Now, when you were diagnosed with endometriosis, did they give you any insight of like the severity of your diagnosis, of your endometriosis?
Yes. So I had my surgery a year ago. And so I guess what I would say, I'm one of the lucky ones. It's mild. So
Okay.
for me, thankfully, they didn't find a lot of it. It doesn't mean to say I had a lot of scar tissue from my endometriosis. So that was the root cause of a lot of my pain. So they were able to release the tension of the scar tissue. And since then, I've had a lot less pain. So really thankful for that. But yeah.
Good. That's amazing. So you know that it's mild. And do you have to go back in for surgery? Do you have to like do a follow-up? What's the protocol and what's the next step for you there?
Basically, we see how we go. I potentially might have to have a repeated surgery if I'm still finding that I'm getting pain and it's frequent to the point it's not tolerable. At the moment, I'm a year post-op, so I am still going good and I've had a lot less pain. Like I said, I was getting it daily. It was daily pain and it was miserable. Whereas now it's every now and then. And when I get it, it is intense. And I think it's more intense than it was, but potentially I'm just not as used to it anymore. And I'm forgetting what that pain felt like, which is amazing. So it's a lot more tolerable now. And so up until the point I can no longer live with it and it's stopping me or holding me back from life is kind of where we're at in terms of like my treatment plan.
Beautiful. And so with endometriosis obviously holding you back prior, do you feel like a newborn woman? And do you feel like this is this regrowth and this rebirth that you're moving through? Do you feel like you've almost been given another chance actually feeling what it can feel like to feel normal day to day rather than being in pain 24/7?
Yeah, I just feel like I got to breathe again. And
Yeah.
my body was in such a state of fight or flight. And I think it was one of those things that I didn't realize how bad it was or how bad I was until I wasn't in that state of fight or flight and constant inflammation. And even just in the way my body looks, I've lost a lot of weight since then, but even in the way my body looks in terms of I was so puffy and like
Mm,
the retention that I had was crazy. And even just talking about how I was as a person, I was in constant fight or flight. I didn't have
mm,
time for or energy for anything else. And that felt like my whole life. And then now I can just breathe and like I can allow myself to focus on a weight loss journey or bettering my life, or I can focus on work more. Like I can just live. I
yeah.
can just be a somewhat normal, like girl in her 20s, just figuring her shit out. And like
Yeah.
the weight that that has lifted off my shoulders, I couldn't even describe. I
Yeah.
can't describe. And now I feel like I can show up in so many other areas, even for my friends and family. Like I can be there and be present, not like, oh my God, I'm dying on the inside. Like I don't want to be here. I can't be here. Like I want to go. Like that was me before, but now I can just show up for
That's so
myself
beautiful.
and for everyone else.
That's incredible. I suppose when you're in so much pain, you don't have the capacity for much else apart from like just coping to like getting from A to B,
You'll
coping
survive.
with the bare minimum. Absolutely. So, what changes have you made in your lifestyle now that have also helped you on your journey?
A lot of it has centered around how I'm living my life. I think the main thing that I kind of have come to terms with recently is I don't want to work against my body and I want to
Mhm.
work with it. And I feel like that's the biggest theme in my life right now. And just creating those habits in a safe environment, a calm environment, to keep those cortisol levels down, not taking on too much stress or not letting stress take me over
Mhm.
because I benefit negatively from that. And I think it's just creating a life that I don't want it to center around my health and wellness, but since I've had that as the main focus, life has gotten a lot better and a lot lighter. So it kind of goes to show me that maybe life does have to center around the syndromes and the endometriosis that I've been diagnosed with because that is me. That is
Yeah.
my makeup. And so I need to live like I have it.
Mhm. And so what is living like you have it? What does that look like from, all the details as in like how you start your day, your rituals, everything?
Yeah. So water. Water's a big one. Keeping hydrated. Having breakfast before I have my coffee, that's a really big one, and actually one that I've started recently is a protein coffee.
Yeah.
So mixing protein powder with my coffee, and I've noticed such a change. I used to be like coffee straight away, like before breakfast, and I'd be like a jittery, anxious mess.
Mhm.
And now I've realized that I need to fuel my body first, and then I can follow
Beautiful.
it up with a coffee, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm a lot better now. Even just little changes in the way, like the times I'm eating, making sure it's consistent
Yep.
or not pushing it too far because then I notice that I'm starting to fatigue or feel a little bit off. And really just keeping stress in my life to an absolute minimum. So if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can hit restart on the day at any point. And
Yeah.
that's something that has really benefited me. Like I even do like a mental like, okay, like we're restarting the day, like I'm overwhelmed, I'm stressed. It's actually not that big of a deal. Like we can restart. And that's one that's like been really big to benefit like my life going forward. But yeah, it's really centers around like the low impact, like training and the nutrition,
Yeah.
eating more whole foods, balanced meals.
Absolutely. It makes a massive difference. And because when we eat more whole foods, we're focusing on improving our gut health and our gut microbiome. And that has a massive part to play with our hormones and our hormone health. So it sounds like you're making some beautiful lifestyle changes that you can continue to do. You know what I mean? You're not just putting yourself on some crazy protocol, like you're just slowly integrating these beautiful practices into your life that are going to transform your health long term. And that's so positive. That's like the best thing you can do with someone who has, both endometriosis and PCOS. I'm interested to know a little bit more about like were you diagnosed with PCOS first or was it endometriosis? Like how did you get the diagnosis of both?
Yeah. So first off, I was diagnosed with PCOS
Right.
and Yeah, so that involved like a few blood tests throughout different points of my cycle. And at that point in time, I was on the pill, so I had to come off of it so that we could get like a true reading and representation of what levels my hormones were. So I got diagnosed with that probably like 3 years ago. And that was something that we always pretty much knew that I had.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that they kind of like, if you have 5 of the symptoms, you basically have it. We just reconfirmed it with the blood testing.
Yeah.
And then endometriosis was one that we were pretty 80% sure I had it just based off symptoms. But if I didn't, the only way they can confirm it with 100% certainty is the surgery. And that was something that I wasn't quite willing to do at that point in time until I needed to and felt like we needed to solve the problem. And so I got to that point last year. And yeah, within the next month, I was having the surgery and it was confirmed that I had mild endometriosis. Yeah, so we have to go through
Crazy.
pretty major things to get
Yeah.
diagnosed officially. And that's one of the frustrating things is like, it's not just as simple as like a blood test for a lot of the things that we need confirmation.
Totally. And I think now I've even been, I listen to a lot of scientists overseas, and I was listening to this one scientist who works with in women's health and talks about hormones a lot. And she said that now they're figuring out something to do with poo, I'm pretty sure, or the way someone poos or some kind of symptom with their poo.
Yeah.
and something to do with that. And they can almost like tell straight away. I think it's the poo, or it might be a sign like in the rectum. There's something to do with that area of the body where they can now almost figure out, or they're pretty certain that a woman can have endometriosis. So hopefully, with a lot more work going into the hormone space, especially with women's health, we do have, protocols in place for an earlier diagnosis or catching things as soon as we can, or as soon as there's any symptoms, rather than just saying to a young girl, okay, here's the pill, actually working out a protocol that can help her with her lifestyle. Because ultimately, diet and exercise and our stress management and our nervous system, like it all plays a massive part in how bad we feel with something that we have. Our symptoms are worse when we're stressed. Our symptoms are worse when we're undernourished. Our symptoms are worse when we're not hydrated and we're not getting the fuel and things that our body needs to feel its best. So do you feel that now that you've got all these in place, you feel like it's almost manageable? I mean, obviously it is, because you're finally feeling like you can live your life, which is so exciting.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like for the first time, I can manage it. And so that's allowed me space to, open myself up to what else do I want to focus on, because that's not like the center of my universe. It's not the only thing I can focus on. So I think that's where I said like earlier, like I can rebrand, like I'm like figuring it out because I have the mental capacity to do so. So
yeah, that's exciting.
I can move on from that fight or flight mode.
Yes.
Huge.
Do you do anything else in your life to help with your hormones? Like, for example, for me, in the last couple of years, I gave up perfume and fragrances in my space to help with hormones. Do you do anything quirky like that?
I actually recently read that carbonated drinks are quite bad.
Right.
And I
Or
used to
too
be
much.
like, I used to be like, oh, the only thing that would like get me is like a crispy Coke from the
Right.
fridge, like, and so or too much of that. So I've cut that out recently.
Yeah.
But I have been reading lots about like low tox, and I think that's like the new thing that we're all talking about, which I love because it's absolutely a good trend to like
Makes
be talking
sense though,
about.
doesn't it? As to why it's affecting our endocrine system. Like, a lot of female underwear is made out of plastic. I mean, polyester is plastic, right? And so we're literally right now, if you're sitting in underwear and you look at the tag and it says polyester, you're literally putting plastic on your vagina. And
that's what we're absorbing.
Exactly, because your vagina has its own biome. It has its own microbiome. So you're absorbing all of those fibers. And then you think about like women especially are exposed to more toxins than men because we wear makeup, we wear perfume, we get our hair done, shampoos, conditioners, body soaps, creams, lotions, everything. Like we're exposed to a lot more. And in today's world, I think because especially with social media and every influencer trying to sell you everything, there's just so many different products that it's overwhelming, right? And then we're just exposed to so many things. And I think that definitely has a part to play with why women's endocrine systems are so disrupted. But yeah, I think for me personally, recently, maybe 2 years ago, I gave up perfume, and I've now when I smell it, like if I spray it on, like if someone sprays it near me, like a friend or something, and we're getting ready, I actually feel like dizzy. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. And it goes to show how potent and strong it is.
Yes.
And then what's great now is, like, now that it's becoming more of a trend, it's been more spoken about, there's
Yes.
brands that are creating clean products that we can
Clean
replace
products,
it with,
100%.
and I think, yeah, it's like, if you don't know, you don't know, but it's
No,
good that now we're having these conversations, and you're so right, we are exposed to so much more. I mean, I put makeup on, we're bleaching our hair,
yeah,
we're doing
totally. Yep.
that, and, like, it can't be good, and it's
No,
not good. So,
no,
like, we probably should be trying to change it or switch it up, like, there's so many more replacements becoming available that
totally.
we're only.
I I think like changing it up to go as low tox as possible. And then I think there's an element there that we as women need to just accept and love ourselves for who we are.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to wear our natural hair. And we need to be able to be okay every now and again without feeling as though we need to wear makeup all the time. I wear makeup too, but sometimes I don't because I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I feel like my skin needs to breathe. And just really accepting who we are and loving ourselves. And I
Yeah.
feel like if we did that a lot more, maybe we wouldn't feel the need to, as women, to do the things we do.
100%, and I think, like, society is it's a real damaging thing, and I
It
think
is.
we're lucky now that there's more good society coming through with in
Yeah.
terms of, like, accepting ourselves and showing up naturally, and, like,
Mm,
that is more okay and acceptable, like, even, like, I'm in a corporate world, I feel like I have to wear a full face of makeup,
yeah.
otherwise I'm not put together, I'm not ready for work, people are gonna be like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, why?" What
It's
that
a
doesn't affect me, I still look
no.
tidy and presentable, like, but that's what society's
I'm
built us
still
up.
working just as hard. I just don't
Yeah,
have makeup on today. Like, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
100%. It's just, I guess it's just this facade that we live in. And we're
yeah,
living in this world that is very,
has to be
uh,
perfect.
yeah, we've been conditioned to believe that you have to look a certain way to have a certain status or reputation. And it's bullshit.
Yeah, and
But
I think slowly we're learning.
we are like a lot of women are waking up.
Yeah.
We're all waking up to the idea that we've just been kind of, I don't know, we've been fucked with a little.
We have, and we've been
And
told.
yeah,
Who told us? I mean,
yeah,
who made the rules for us? And
I
I think
know.
that's where it's like, "No, I
Yeah,
don't wanna do that, I don't have to do that."
absolutely.
Like, why? Because who said so?
Exactly. And I mean, like the propaganda starts as child, like when you're a child, like you think about, you know, preteens or like 10-year-olds, like the types of, like, not really toys, because you kind of stop playing with toys at that age, don't you? Like, but what's on offer is like, okay, lip glosses and fragrance sprays and all these types of body butters and stuff that your little 10-year-old body is exposed to, because it's like almost getting women in this headspace that like this is what you need to get
Like,
used to having. It's products, it's makeup, it's it's everything, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, and it's so crazy. I never thought about it until my niece came into the world, and, me and my sisters have had chats about it, and we're like, she'll see us put makeup on and stuff, and she'll be like, "Put it on." She's like, "Oh, I'm beautiful." But we're like, "No, but you're beautiful without it. We
Yeah.
do it 'cause it's fun and we
It's
enjoy
fun
it.
and yeah, it's art,
We
you
look
know?
beautiful without it as well." And so, like,
Yes.
it's pulling it back and being like, "Okay, what do you want for the future? For
Yeah.
future children and stuff, like, would you want them to be raised the same way we were? No.
Yeah.
I don't want them to have the same pressures that we did or
No.
that I did, like, where I had to feel like I was perfect and put together all the time, even when
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling okay, and
Yeah.
just thinking I wasn't beautiful without makeup, like, that's not right, and so
No.
it's changing, it's
It
changing.
is. And, like, it's so fine every now and again to I don't know about you, but sometimes I just love getting dressed up and going out to dinner and, like,
Yeah,
no reason at all, but just to go out
yeah,
and enjoy, like, a
that's literally
beautiful
me, full face, with them off
yeah,
to dinner after this, like,
absolute nice, I love that. But you know what I mean? It's like, it's yeah, it's great to do that, but
yeah,
we shouldn't have to feel pressured to be like that all the time.
mm,
And I know that we've gone on a tangent, but it makes sense and it really does relate back to why women's hormones are so messed up, because we're stressed, we're overwhelmed, we're exposed to so many toxins that do affect the endocrine system, and we also have to deal with so much in society. It's no wonder women are feeling so overwhelmed and are getting these diagnoses. You know what I mean? Like, I do think sometimes it's unlucky that women are, diagnosed with endo and PCOS, but I do think a lot of it does come down to being like the pressure, because you think about that nervous system being so fried and your cortisol being so high all the time. It's no wonder these things come to fruition. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and when you look at it holistically as well, women store trauma in the womb. And
Totally.
so that
They
I know for
do.
me, like, I can pinpoint the exact moment where I was like, I've 100% got PCOS. Before I was diagnosed, I was under so much stress and like
Mm,
traumatic life, like time period of my life, and like I can pinpoint it, and I'm like 100% because I was holding on to that because
yeah.
again, we have to be proper, put together, and we're exposing ourselves to everything, and I
Yeah.
think it's really interesting when they say that because it's like, yeah, it's true.
It is true. My sister works a lot in that space. She does womb hire massages actually, and helps a lot of women with moving through things, because we do store a lot of trauma
Mm,
in the womb. We also have a lot of creativity in that space
yeah,
too. Like, we birth children.
yeah,
Women birth ideas and creativity all the time, but when we're not connected to that part of our body, it is really hard to feel your best, to feel your most authentic, creative, expressive self, because a lot of it does start from there, And I truly believe that. 100% do. When we dive deeper and we really think about every part of our body and we're connected to it, we are unstoppable beings. And maybe that's why they want women not to be loud and proud and opinionated, which is another thing too. Like, we're so suppressed of being, you know, if you're angry, you're a bitch, or
yeah. What is
you're you're crazy, or you're oh, she's too opinionated. It's like, hang on, how come I'm not allowed to use the emotion anger? There's a reason it's a core emotion. So then we store that in our body, and that builds up as stress and tension, and then all of a sudden, boom, it
yeah?
hits.
Why are women the first ones to call each other that as
I
well?
know.
Like, it actually is, we're almost pinned up against each other, and it's crazy.
I know, and we should be supporting each other more. I think
Yeah.
that's so important, I think we've got a long way to go, but I feel like things are starting to make a real positive turn, and I really do hope that it happens sooner rather than later. I have a daughter, so I'm like, "Oh, I don't
Yeah,
want her to feel like this either."
yeah. But I think her initial surrounding, you're her model, so, like,
Yes,
she's seeing that, and she's hearing these conversations that are so,
totally,
and, like, so
absolutely.
open to the other side of things, not just what society says, which is
Yes.
so important. That's also part of why I started sharing my life, my journey, my
Yeah.
thoughts as well, because 'cause I'm like, from another perspective, I was struggling to find people in their 20s talking about
Mhm.
things. It was
Mhm.
people post kids, thinking about having kids, and that's why they were talking about it, and I'm like, I'm just trying to figure shit out, and, like,
Yep.
now we've got all this stuff going on, like, let's start talking about it. And now that I'm surrounding myself with that, it's becoming a lot more acceptable and better, so
That's so cool. How positive for you. I love that. This conversation is like, I'm loving this. I feel like we could talk for hours. I love it.
yes.
Do you think, like, I want to like dive a little bit deeper into the emotional side of your endometriosis, your PCOS. Do you feel like this like affected your relationship with your body? Did you feel as though your body had failed you at some point?
Yeah, that's one that really hits me deep, that feeling of, I just remember sitting and being, like, on the bathroom floor in pain, like, "Why does my body hate me?
Mm,
What did I do to deserve this pain, this feeling? Like, why me?" And that was something that, like, you I almost didn't connect with my body because I was like, I don't trust it to
mhm.
help me. I don't trust this body at all. Like, it was just fighting me at every point. And then I'd do something to try help it. Then it would, like, something else would pop up. And so it was just like such anger towards my body and
Yeah.
myself for, like, why are you failing me so heavily like this and, like, ruining my life? And it
Yeah.
was just the hardest feeling and, like, something that felt so lonely to go through because, yeah, I just was like, no one else was going through it as heavily and as hard as I was, and so it was just like, "Well, why me? Why
Yeah.
my body? Why is it doing this to me?" And that was really hard to go through.
It would have been,
Mm,
especially because this is the only real home you get, right? You get one body, you get
yeah,
one That's it. And so to feel that way would have been so hard, and especially not getting answers either. Like,
Yeah.
that must have been
Yeah, and, like,
incredibly.
I can't imagine someone going through this journey not having the supportive circle that I had. Like, I'm so lucky, like I said, I've got sisters, I've got mum, I've got really
Mm,
great parents, like both mum and dad listened to me, heard me, and never told me I was like, "Oh, crazy." They were like,
yeah.
"Okay, what can we do? What do you need?" I was lucky that I could access what I needed to access, and I can't ever imagine what it would have been like if I couldn't access what I needed to or be heard in the way that
Mm,
I was. And so that's another thing that, like, I was able to have those conversations with people and they like my loved ones, and they were able to support me through that.
that's
And, like, yeah,
beautiful. Yeah. And even if you haven't got family, it's finding a circle that can support you. And
yeah,
that comes back to what you said about understanding your values and ensuring that you're surrounding yourself with people that align with your values. Because if you are going through something as traumatic as this and as painful as this, you do need to be able to rely on your circle from time to time. And that's
so
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 cool that you had that. Absolutely. What do you feel like the moments that you felt so disconnected from yourself? mm, What were they like?
life altering.
Yeah.
Those moments when especially dark for me and I just felt so alone and so shattered with
Mm,
everything, and it was really hard to see that life was gonna be anything different. I
mm,
just was like, "Okay, well, no one's listening to me, no one's hearing me, like, this is it then. This will be the rest of my life, and great, perfect." And, like, all you were seeing online, especially when I was younger, was, like, PCOS, endometriosis means no kids, like, infertility, like, that was the message. It wasn't anything supportive, it was just
mm.
so negative, and it was just so lonely, and, like, I can't it's hard to describe how lonely and isolating that those moments really did feel, but they were just like I was down a deep, dark hole, and,
Oh,
like, they're really in those painful moments when I was sitting on the floor crying, there's just nothing I felt like nothing was gonna fix it, and there was just
yeah,
nowhere that I could go. I couldn't run away from it because that
yeah,
was my body. This is my life.
totally. And thank God you come out the other side of that. And it is so
Yeah.
possible to have babies if you have
Yeah.
got endometriosis and PCOS. There's,
Yeah.
I know actually a woman I interviewed for this series. She has 2 kids and had endometriosis. So it is possible, and I think it's just you've got to keep doing what you're doing, and that's, your whole food-based diet where you're eating nutritious foods, but you're also, having balance as well because you got to live life. And
Yeah.
you're finding an exercise routine that works for you so that you're staying beautifully active. You're trying your best to manage your stress so that your nervous system doesn't feel so overwhelmed. However, the beauty of, strength training and getting stronger within your body and Pilates and just getting stronger in general, that actually improves your resilience in your body. So the fact that you're doing all these beautiful things is going to help so much for when that time does come one day in your life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
It's
not impossible, it's possible. So be careful because you can still get pregnant.
Yeah, and that's it, like, thank God the messaging around that has changed, and I think science has come a long way too in terms of, like, what's available for people if they do
Yes.
struggle. But that was the exact conversation I had with my gyno. She was like, "I wouldn't worry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't worry because that's what everyone tells you, but it's not true." And so it's like,
No.
"Oh, okay. I can,
Yeah.
like, not focus on that because that's not my immediate future, but I wanted it
No.
to be my future." But yeah,
But
it's
what
definitely
you're what you're doing so young now, I think is so positive because by the time that time in your life does come when you do want to have children, you're doing all the right things now. And
yeah,
actually that really makes a big difference. What we do in our 20s really impacts how we feel in our 30s. And so you're going to move through the next 5 years doing all these beautiful things for yourself, showing up for yourself in ways that maybe you couldn't imagine a couple of years ago. And you're not going to know yourself. You're going to be unstoppable. That's
yeah. And
exciting.
that's what I figured, like, if I'm going to do it at any point in my life, it needs to be now while I'm young enough where I have the capacity, I
Yeah.
have the time, I don't have dependents, I don't have those big, huge responsibilities, like, I have the time, so now is it.
Yeah,
Like, set
absolutely.
myself up for success, I think, and, like, living the way I wasn't working, So why the hell would I keep doing that? Like,
you have hit the nail on the head there. 'Cause if we keep showing up in the way that doesn't make us feel good and we want to achieve something, and if we don't change what we're doing, we're never going to see the change. We have to actually change the environment, change the habits, change what we're doing slowly to then see that like next version of ourselves.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're doing that beautifully, which is so cool to hear. If there was one thing that you could say to women out there who are struggling, whether they're in pain all the time, they've got irregular periods and they can't explain it, and they're really struggling, they might not have been diagnosed yet, what is something you have to say to those women?
Listen to your body. You know what's best. You know what's going on. And I think you're the only one that can advocate for yourself. So just because someone says no doesn't mean that's what's true or factual. You know your body, listen to it, and you'll figure out what's best for you.
Beautiful. What a beautiful message to take away and for others to listen to. And I think, you're on this beautiful journey and it's only going to get better and better as the time goes on. You're very positive, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's taken you a while to get to that point too with everything that you've been through. So thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey. So where can people find you? And I'll put all this in the show notes, but if you just want to let us know where people can find you, maybe even, have a chat with you about similar things or even just find you on socials.
Yes, my DMs are always open. I feel like since I've started sharing, I've created such a cool community of people that I chat to, like my online besties.
That's
and
cool.
I can relate to them and they can relate to me. And so my DMs are always open, but I'm on Instagram and TikTok. It's Shannon_Scudder.
Beautiful.
And that's where you can find me, and that's where I'm creating my little safe community.
That's so cool. I love that you've started a community online. It's definitely the way to find a like-minded community these days. It really is, especially if you're struggling to find that in person. So,
yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for joining me on the Well Body podcast. It's been an honor, and it's been so lovely to meet you online as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Well Body podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review or share it with someone who needs to hear it. You can find more support, resources, and information on my website at www.beyondthebody.co. Until next time, I look forward to having you in the next episode.